James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow.
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable True School Sports Empire. Y'all know the rest, man. Now listen, this is my official post-fight review for Nick Ball versus TJ Doheny, and your result of the fight is a 10th round stoppage for the Wrecking Ball as he makes his second consecutive successful world title defense. So fair play to him. You know, he beat Doheny and made the corner have to make that decision for him, and they did what they had to do, what they felt was best for their fighter, and they said no mas on behalf of TJ Doheny. Now, I was supposed to take a break from YouTube. I said in a recent video that I would take a break from YouTube. I was just kind of down about life and stuff like that, so just disregard what I said in one of my recent videos about that. The show must go on. There's content to be made. There's boxing to be talked about at the highest levels here on True School Sports. But look, Nick Ball, TJ Doheny. It was a fight that when it got signed, I wasn't really excited about it because, you know, I respect Doheny. He's a true champion, true warrior of the sport. But he was literally fresh off of the Inoue loss, right? Last time we all seen him, Inoue punched him in his stomach, and then he was holding his back, you know? So that's our last image of Doheny in the ring. Mind you, Doheny is not even really a featherweight. He's a 122-pound fighter. Everything he's accomplished in boxing has been at super bantamweight. You know, he was a champion at super bantamweight. He knocked out and got himself back on the map by winning fights at super bantamweight, which led to the Inoue fight. He fought Inoue at super bantamweight. He fought Danny Armand at super bantamweight back in the day, and he was champion at super bantamweight. So, to me, this fight wasn't gonna really tell me much about Nick Ball because I knew that Doheny would not really be at his optimum weight class for this fight. That's number one. And number two, this is Nick Ball's second consecutive fight against a fighter that is a super bantamweight moving up. You know, Ronnie Rios was the last opponent, now Doheny. So he fought Raymond Ford and he beat Raymond Ford, and fair play to him. Raymond Ford's a good fighter and he's a legit he was a legit champion in, you know, the fight of the year in 2024 against Otabek Komatov. But since he beat Raymond Ford, he's been sitting on that title. And, you know, they picked some nice guys for him, guys with names and accomplishments who are solid, competent fighters at the weight class, or at their actual weight class, not featherweight. But he's done what he needed to do, and fair play to him for that. But really and truthfully, guys, if I'm being honest with you, I've thought for a while that Nick Ball is the weak link of the champions of featherweight, and this fight, I believe, has strengthened what I already believed. Just recapping the fight, right? In this fight, I feel like Doheny had a lot of success in the first, 1 to 6, from round 1 to round 6. He had a lot of success boxing, moving. Doheny's got good feet. He has good amateur pedigree. He's got a lot of know-how in the sport. He's fought at a high level for a very long time, seen a bunch of different fighters, a bunch of different styles. So yeah, his ring craft was giving Nick Ball some fits. And then also, one thing I liked about Doheny was he was going to the body a lot on Nick Ball. And these things gave Nick Ball problems at some point. Where TJ ultimately came unstuck in this fight was two things. Number one, he just doesn't throw with enough volume to keep a guy like Nick Ball off of him. So as crafty as he was and as much body shots as he landed, he wasn't throwing with enough volume to keep Nick Ball honest and at bay. That's number one. Number two, and this is not TJ's fault, but something about these Scousers when they fight in Liverpool, like Callum Smith was on the right side of a lot of corruption back in the day, and Nick Ball. I mean, it was a shit show tonight in there. Nick Ball literally kicked TJ Doheny in the back of his legs because I think it was after the second round or one of the early rounds. Doheny was holding Nick Ball by the head a little bit after the bell, and Nick Ball didn't like that, so he kicked Doheny on the back of the leg, which I don't know, man. Like boxing is getting real creative now, because we just had Gervonta Davis, take a knee, not get called for it, then wipe his face in the middle of the round, and nothing happened to him, and they just boxed like nothing happened. Now you got Nick Ball kicking dudes in the back of their legs. So it seems like these days, if you're the A side or you're the champion, you can pretty much do whatever you want to the B side fighter, which I think is disgraceful. It's actually worse than usual. They're getting real creative in 2025, so they get an A for effort. But yeah, he kicked Nick Ball in the back of the leg. Nothing happened. Nothing got called. Later in the fight, he literally took Doheny and threw him to the canvas. I mean, Nick Ball employed all the rough housing and dirty strategies possible to slow down this 38-year-old super bantamweight coming up in weight. And ultimately, he beat Doheny up enough to force the corner to do their job and stop the fight. But I'm not gonna disrespect Nick Ball. He's a world champion, and I do like him. I'm a Nick Ball fan. But Nick Ball, he's very good at his one style. Like, his style is to box, or not box, but to pressure and move forward and be the wrecking ball. Can he do some little things here and there? Like, yeah, he there was a sequence in the middle to later rounds where Nick Ball was a southpaw, and then he did like a Superman punch and jumped out of the southpaw stance and landed a punch on Doheny. So he can do some subtle things here and there, but for the most part, he's a meat and potatoes, blue collar, in your chest kind of a fighter. And I think it'll work against a lot of fighters in boxing, and it's very effective. Like, he's very effective what he does. But like, they're talking about Nick Ball fighting Naoya Inoue. Now look, conventional wisdom tells me that Naoya Inoue should be able to deal with that. But to be fair to Nick Ball, we haven't seen Inoue in there with a guy as rugged as a Nick Ball. We've seen him in there with somebody as awkward as like a Neri, but not somebody as rugged as Nick Ball. So it'll be a different type of fight if they fight. But I think Inoue should be able to shoot between the shots and capitalize. Because Nick Ball, with him fighting out of the high guard so much, the body is open a lot. He's a walking body shot, honestly. Like, that's just because of his hand positioning. It's just that, and I'm not disrespecting, I'm just telling you the truth. But you still have to have the balls and the stamina and the wherewithal to actually sit in there and throw the shot. And that's where a lot of fighters have problems. That's why Raven Ford had problems. He didn't have the wherewithal early in the fight to do that, right? So it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but it's right there in front of you for all to see, right? So I think Inoue should beat him, but again, Inoue is gonna be a smaller guy coming up in weight. I think Inoue is a great enough body puncher to where he should be getting Nick Ball out of there within inside 9 rounds. Nick Ball's tough, he's durable. What might be a bit of a problem for Inoue in that fight, or like maybe not a problem, but something that he has to adapt to, is maybe like Nick Ball being shorter than him, because Inoue hasn't fought too many guys shorter than him. I'm pretty sure he'll be at least a little taller, because Nick Ball's pushing like 5'4". Maybe Inoue's the same size as him. It's height wise. I'm not so sure, but yeah, that'll be an interesting fight when it does happen for those reasons. As far as Nick Ball against the other champions, look, I told you guys after the Carlos Castro fight, when Stephen Fulton was the #1 contender in the WBA, I always told you guys Stephen Fulton could be Nick Ball, and that definitely hasn't changed, So there's that. Rafael Espinoza versus Nick Ball will be a really interesting fight. I don't think it'll happen, but I think Espinoza being so tall and then not fighting off the jab as much as he should, and then Nick Ball pressing him, being in the chest. I actually think, believe it or not, as crazy as it may sound, that of the champions, just because of the strengths, weaknesses, and the dimensions, I think Espinoza might be the most winnable fight for Nick Ball, honestly. And I'll tell you the fight that is not it's not a winnable. It's the least winnable fight. I don't want to say it's not winnable because everybody has a chance to win, but it's the least winnable. The Angelo Leo fight is the least winnable fight for Nick Ball, and luckily for him, Angelo's not a big money attraction. He doesn't talk a lot, so they're not rushing to make that fight. But if they were to fight, that's a very difficult fight for Nick Ball, because Angelo has very good feet. Angelo can fight at angles. He pivots really well. And Angelo he is the best body puncher in the division. And with him fighting out of that high guard so much, there's going to be so many different ways that you could set that up. That Angelo could set up the left hook to the body, the right hand to the stomach, the jab to the stomach, the left hook to the head that knocked off Nato with. I just think that's a terrible fight for Nick Ball. Maybe he could take Angelo to the distance, but you got to be like Eduardo Baez. Like Eduardo Baez, as tough as they come, tough Mexican. He's the only guy that's taking the distance so far. Not even Renato Lopez, who's a very, very doable fighter, very strong fighter, very hard guy to knock out. Not even he could, take Angelo the distance. So I think that's a very bad fight for Nick Ball. I think Fulton fight is winnable, but I would favor Fulton. And as crazy as it sounds, I would still say Espinoza should beat Nick Ball, but because of Espinoza's not fighting off of his height, And the fact that he loves to work in close quarters and he loves to, fight on the inside, that could actually be to his detriment with a guy who's as active and as durable and as strong physically as Nick Ball. So that's a real intriguing fight. I'll still go Espinoza, but I'm not as confident as some of you guys would be in that one, honestly. But listen, there's a bunch of great fights at featherweight. It's a great time for the division. Shout out to Nick Ball. He did his thing. Good fight, consistent. One thing, on a positive note, one thing I can't say about Nick Ball is consistent. You know what you're getting every single fight for him. So if you have fighters in this division that are inconsistent and have a dip in performance, or don't execute the game plan the right way, you know what Nick Ball is going to come to do every single fight. So consistency can sometimes be undervalued. I'll give Nick Ball credit for his consistency and his style. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. What did you guys think of Doheny versus Ball, man? Doheny's a wily veteran, been champion. That might be the last time we see him. So if it is the last time we see him, tip of the cap goes to TJ Doheny on a great career. Thank you for your service in boxing and then all the great fights, and always willing to fight the best. But yeah, leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys click right over here.
Keep watching my boy BT put on the best interviews out here.